Ladies and gentlemen, we're here. Haven't been doing all these too much this season, but say we're back in business a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Got our boy dancing here. Alright, let's get into it. Lady. I'll turn off the music because y'all are some bitches and are always bitching at me that I have the music on too loud, so got my phone out. Let me put on the music real quick. You guys are gonna have to deal with this intro a little bit. I don't give a fuck. Y'all gonna watch anyway. I don't care. Let's play this. Alright. So, first matchup we got of the week 9 is me and B. This is obviously it's my match, so I can't really speak too much on it because, you know, I'm in it. I could have leaked some stuff, but first time I'm using my new team, Gengar, and who's the other one? Bro, who else did I trade? Oh, Gengar and Genji. Gengar and Comfy are no longer on the team. We now have Weezing and Tornadus. And we still have Liepard in the back because we haven't used her yet either. Even though last week was her first week that she could have came against New. We didn't use her, so whatever. But yeah, new team. Excited to see if I'm able to bring them or not. But obviously I'm not going to spoil much of anything against me and B because I'm the person playing in it. So, you know. But one thing I will say is I had this issue against Chase in that he had some of the few things that outsped Zeraora, except Regieleki got walled by Zera, so it didn't matter. Sceptile he wasn't going to bring anyway, so I wasn't worried about that. But so that just left Cinderace and Tailwind. So it was weird, but I still brought Zera. But this time, it's a little bit different because he's got Unburdened Sneasler, Sticky Webs, and Aerodactyl, which now my Zeraora's got the pressure on him for the first time really this entire season. This is the one team where Zeraora is what do you want me to do, coach? The B's got I mean, I wouldn't say he's my ace mon, but he's kind of been. He's just been super reliable for me. I mean, we'll pull it up. Yeah, he's the only mon I've brought to every single game. Trailing Garchomp in 1 kill, and only has 1 kill more than Roserade. So yeah. Zeraora backs against the wall this game. Gonna be a tough game for him if he even comes. But yeah, I think this will be a good game. I think B's set against Noah last week was really impressive. That really impressed me. I think B trolled a little bit in the beginning of the first game, but game ones are always a little bit sketchy. You always got to feel out what their sets are, understand what they're playing like on that day. So I can kind of excuse it. But do I think he's going to end the streak? I cannot say with confidence that I think B will. I think B's having a fantastic season. I think, I hate to keep pulling shit up, mid-video and eating shit, but you guys are going to deal with it. But yeah. B is literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. B is literally where everyone else in the league is. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost more than a quarter of the league is 4-4. This season, I knew it was gonna be competitive, but I did not expect it to be this competitive coming into the season. So the fact that B is holding out and even beating some other coaches that have done historically better than him, like JC, Chase, he's over Tabs. He's and then he's keeping pace with Mnaz and Tanner, and Woo's been having a Woo first half of the season, first 4 weeks, top team, lost the next 4, so now he's in this middle of the pack. But even then, Woo's season, he's been having a good season. He might be on a little bit of a losing streak right now, but I wouldn't really I wouldn't hold that against him all too much. I think Woo's team is still really scary. I think last week against Chris, even though he didn't win, I think he finally honed in on that strategy that he's been pretty much missing since week 1, which is just get Houndstone in to click last respects and win. If he didn't do that, that set does not get nearly as close as it did. But I think Woo has finally realized that that is what his team has always meant to do. His first 4 weeks, he didn't really need to use it as much, but the next 4 really showed him, I guess in his mind, that he just needs to rely on the dog. Last season, he had it with Drill. It was a little bit... I'm not saying Drill's bad, but when you compare Exadrill to a Houndstone, there's not much of comparing to do there. So I think Woo's finally honing in on that, finally adapting to that play style, building around it. I think his sets are a little wonky this week. I don't know why you would run Outrage on a Dredagon, but he still knew the general idea of Rocky Helmet, so he's still getting a feel for his new team. Made a lot of trades. Even is debating the Houndstone based off his Discord name. We'll see if he actually decides to go through with that at all. But yeah. Enough about Woo. I don't know why I went on this big tangent about Woo. It's about me and B right now. What the hell? I just love that guy, man. So attractive. But yeah, me and B. It's gonna be a good game. Again, can't really get into much besides saying Zero Aura is in the balance right now. But yeah. And I guess I'll say one more thing, that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah. Do I think B is going to beat the streak? In short, no. I think with these trades, it really rounds out my team like really nicely. I could be wrong. Could be wrong. Maybe I don't even bring them to this game, and it's just the old squad without Gengar. Who knows? But yeah. I'm fairly confident that I will beat B. Do I think it'll be a 2-1 or 2-0? Last season, Chase is giving me a little bit of shit, being nice, being like, oh, I think D can take a game. I'm going to be a little bit more straightforward here. I'm going to be a little bit more honest. I mean, I'm always honest. I think anyone can always take a game off anyone, and especially this season more than any. But with how my season's been going and how B's season's been going, nothing to take away from B. But I'm not helping him prep this week, obviously, because he plays me, so... it's gonna be a tough one for the boy. I don't think he's gonna. I think he'll put up a good one, but I don't think he's taking a game off me. I think the Westside Grafii will continue their dominance. I think we will beat out their predecessors, Philadelphia Flygons' record of last season at 8-1. Or we were 8-0, then we lost to Tanner, so then we're 8-1. I think we will finally break through that threshold and hit the first ever Big Juice 9-0. Big things to look forward to. Next up, match that I can actually talk a little bit more about because I'm not the one in it. Chris versus Noah. It's a close one. This is major playoff implications for the both of them, really. Not so much for Chris. Really, not so much for Chris, because, I mean, I'm just going to keep pulling up these standings. So, excusez-moi. But, yeah, Chris is literally the number 2 team in the league right now. The only person that's even tied with him is Josh, but he has over double his differential. So Chris is, in my opinion, pretty solidly number 2 right now. Obviously, so we got half the fucking season to go, but yeah. Or a little bit less now now that we're done with week 8. Holy shit. But yeah, Chris versus Noah. On paper, you might say Chris, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Noah's record is 5-3. The only games he's like the reverse Mnez, right? Mnez has, up until his game against Josh, he has only won divisional games. Now against Josh a couple weeks back, proved that he can actually win games outside of his division. Noah's been the opposite. Noah has he beat B the first time they played, and then he lost to B the second time, and then he lost to Taz and Emnes before. So Noah is like the antithesis to Emnes. He will beat everyone else, but he will not beat the people that he is in main competition with, which is just funny to me. Oh shit. I'm not. It's just funny to me, really. It's just funny how, because going into the season, I was worried that division shit, but now we have two extremes within the same division. MNES, who's only winning division really, and Noah, who's only winning non-division. So, really funny. I just like that. I think it's funny. But yeah. But now if we look at the matchup more nitty gritty, just per usual, Chris's team just very weak to rocks. Chris has not been bringing the Hanj Kersey as of recent. Ever since he got that Moltres and Meow, hasn't really been using the Hanj Kersey all that much. I I think it's more because Moltres and Gudra is such a solid defensive duo that he doesn't really need to rely on them as much. But in a game where there is a Tapu Koko and you have two of your best Pokemon being flying types, pretty scary. Also, Water Annihilate, Curse doesn't really have the best way to kill it. If he stays ghost fighting, Banette can kind of fuck with it. But he goes Water, really all he has is Palm out at that point, which, Curse doesn't really have a good way of dealing with the Annihilate at first glance. Maybe I'm not seeing something. Well, I guess if he Terra Waters, you have Meowscarada that can Flower Trick crit through his defense boost, so I guess that's always an option. But yeah, I think this has major playoff implications because if Noah loses this and goes down to 5-4, that then means that if Mnez, Tabs, or B, if either of them win, they will then be even with Noah, which coming into this season, like after the first week or two after Annihilate's dominance, it really looked like Noah was like that conference's like top dog. I mean, he still is. No, like definitely not that blatantly stupid to say he's not, but yeah. This is going to be a crazy game because if Chris loses, it's not that bad. He still has a pretty solid lead. Again, I'm just going to keep pulling over these rankings because they are important to look at. But even if Chris loses and goes to 6-3, really the only thing he has to worry about is Croc winning his game. But even then, as of now, Croc is leading his division. So, assuming Croc wins out his division, he's not in competition with Chris for his playoff spot because Croc would take the divisional spot. So yeah, Chris's playoff spot, even if he loses this week, not that important. But Chris has to win one of the next two games. He has to beat either me or Noah, and he ain't beating me, so he has to beat Noah. Because if he goes down to, if he were to go down to 6-4, his playoff spot would be in the balance a little bit. It really depends if, in Chris's mind, he needs Croc to win out division. Because Tanner is still a little ways away from Chris. He's 2 games behind. So in Chris's mind, he wants Croc to do really, really well the rest of the season. That way he does not have to worry about Tanner. If Tanner starts making a comeback, Chris starts losing some games here, spice up some things. But as of now, Chris's playoff spot is pretty on lock. So if anything, the pressure is more on Noah this set than it is Chris. Do I think Noah will succumb to the pressure? I really don't think so. I don't see Noah as like a choker by any means. He did make one really funky play in trying to rest in his electric terrain last week, but other than that blunder, this is Noah. Pretty solid battler, I think we would all say. So this is definitely game 3. This is like a game of the season potential game right here. 2 top teams late into the season. It's gonna be an exciting one. If I had to pick one, I think I always gotta go with my dog Chris, but just trying to think. Cause like I'm really trying to think, cause like Noah is one of the few teams that has a pretty easy way to get through Gudra. He's got Annihilate and he's got Zygarde, which Chris can't run Chopple and Chookaberry. So it's like Gudra is fine. The way Zeraora for me is finally getting tested pretty hard. Gudra is really going to be tested this game and its defensive capabilities. And since Chris, I think he's been using Moltres as well, but since Gudra is like his main one, and this is like, it's really being threatened this set, I think Chris is going to have to play a game very offensively. And I'm not saying Chris can't. He can always rely on Bennett to help facilitate that game plan, which is why his team is so scary. Um, but I think if Noah keeps a cool level head, I mean I don't know. Chris also keeps a cool level head, so really this just comes down to preference. I'm trying to think. But I think Chris has been playing exceptionally well this season. I fully expect the semifinals to be me versus Chris. I'm just gonna say it now. We said it in the video a couple weeks ago. I think that's what we agreed on. But yeah, I'm gonna have to give this one to Chris. I think it's gonna be a banger of a set, potentially game of the season. But I'm gonna give it to Chris. Definitely no shade thrown at Noah here. I think he's very capable of winning this game, but I think Chris has been very well prepped this season. He's been very on the ball. So I'd be shocked to see Chris not make this game extremely competitive. Holy shit, we are like 20 minutes in and we've only gone over 2 games. Jesus Christ, I need to speed this up a little bit. Wu versus what Mnaz? Jesus Christ. Uh, Chin Pao Simulator. Can Wu stop Chin Pao? He has something for the Ice News and Suicune, but he doesn't really have anything for the Dark. I guess he has T-Tar, but then Sacred Sword. So yeah, I don't want to say anything. Like obviously, I don't want to give my expressive thoughts going into a set because I think I can see things that other coaches don't. So I don't want to explicitly say, yo, I think if this coach brings this, that could be extremely troll, or if this coach brings this, that could be great tech. Not in a public video. If they ask me in private, obviously I'll help them out. But in public, I don't know. I feel a little scummy if I say that because I could be spoiling potential sets, or again, I could say something like me saying Zeraora has a bad matchup against B. In my mind, I think that's very open. But B, maybe he's still worried about Zeraora, and me saying that makes him double take if I even bring it. That's why I don't really like to say too much about matchups. Maybe I should, just because it's my job as, I guess, an analyst in this sense to do that. But yeah, I think if Mnez preps in a specific way, it could be sort of troll this game. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, I think this matchup is weird because Wu has like answers for each move Chin Pao can go for, but it's very prediction based. So this game comes down to a battle of predictions, which I think historically Mnez has been the strongest in the league at doing so. I always look back to his sets against me and JC in the playoffs last season. Obviously, that's playoffs Mnez. This is regular season Mnez. He's been struggling pretty hard this season. So do I think regular season Mnez is washed? Well, I just think this is gonna be very prediction based, and I think, how do I say this in the nicest way possible? Not that Wu doesn't care, right? Wu obviously, I think everyone in the league cares that they win or at least do well. But I think Wu, especially losing the last 4 games, I think he's in this mindset of like, fuck it, we ball, just fucking run it down, press W, and I think that's gonna fuck with Mnez's prediction game a bit. And he's got Comfey now, so we will see if Comfey makes its first appearance on, or I guess, well, first appearance for Emnes, second appearance in general. But yeah, we'll see if Comfey makes its appearance. Yeah, I think this game is going to be very prediction based, and I think the mindsets going into this game are very conflicting. Because Wu definitely still in the playoff race, but now he's tied with Tanner. Emnes, if he doesn't win out division, I mean, he lost against Tabs, so if he loses to Noah and or B, his playoff life is super jeopardized. So for both of these teams, this is a massive, massive game to win. Um, Again, I think this will be a game 3. Um, Again, I think Wu's mental, not that it's like shot or I don't think Wu's mental shot by any means. I think he's still having very fun, taking it very lightheartedly. Um, but I think the mindset shift to just fuck it, we ball. Last week, just running it down with Houndstone. Um, and this doesn't have a normal type on his team. I guess you have Snarl, but how many last respects he's gonna eat, who knows? Um, I wanna say Wu, but prankster screens for Hound Stussy sounds pretty scary. So for that reason alone, I'm gonna give it to the Dell. I'm gonna give it to the Amnesty. Definitely. Again, this is gonna be a very prediction-based game. I think just historically, MS has been one of the stronger prediction-based teams or coaches. So it's gonna be a tough one for Wu for sure. Big playoff implications, but definitely a set that he can take. Next up, New versus Tabs. New has been having a very tragic season. 1-6, lowest seeded team in the league. He's having an extremely rough season. Um, and Tabs, who's been having a pretty good season, he's in a very realistic spot to take a playoff position if he keeps his trajectory going the way it's been going. Um, for New, his playoff spot is kind of over. He would really need a lot of top teams in our conference to start choking. Wu's kind of been a little bit, but even if he chokes, that just opens the door for Tanner, who's got his first win in a while last week. Croc, who's been very dominant. Nick, same boat as New, not really in the playoff race anymore. Chase, I did say last week or in our midseason playoff video, he was in the race. I don't think he's in the race anymore. I think Chase is just kind of Chase. Well, I guess Biff is sort of still, but not really. But Chase more than anyone, he's kind of like the Nat of the. I would say Biff and Chase are like the Nats of the league right now. They're the teams where it's like you go in thinking like, all right, easy week, and then like they fuck up your entire playoff run, and then that loss or that set potentially is the reason why you don't make playoffs. So for coaches playing Gengars and Toxapexes, they'll take it very seriously because one loss cost you like that. But yeah. Um, how do I always go on these rants? Tabs and no. Jesus fucking Christ, my brain is fried. Uh, Megalopunny has been having beginning of the season very poor. Literally looked like one of the worst Megas in the league. Now very on ball, even surpassing Fluttermane and Kill Leader. Uh, Lopunny's back in action. This is the Lopunny of season 2 that we've all been waiting for. And New doesn't really have an answer for it. I guess you have Vikavolt, but it brings out like Skeleturge every time. So uh, I think this is a pretty solid 2-0 victory for the boy Tabs. New's been having a rough season. The only game he did win was against Nick, which not that that's not saying much because he still won, but Nick's been having a very weird season. He has some weeks where he makes it very competitive, like last week against Croc, and he has some weeks where he brings Facade Corviknight. So you never know what you're getting out of Nick. So yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty easy game for Tabs. I think this will finally give him a winning record in 5-4 and really assert himself as like a big playoff contender for this bottom half of the league right here. All right, moving on. Tanner versus Preston. Now this is an absolutely massive game for the both of them. Tanner's trajectory was like going down, going down, going down, and then he got his win last week against Chase, and now it's fine. It's like in that pivot. It's like in that you know what I mean? Like he just hit that hard pivot. He's finally. It could be looking at an upward trajectory here. It could very well be. But this game against Preston will say it all. Because Tanner, again, he's right at this. Hold on. How do I. There we go. He's right at that cusp. He's right at that cusp. He's right here. He could go up, but Preston could slam that shit right down. We don't know. This is why this game is so important. And same thing with Preston. Preston. Jesus Christ. Am I like retarded? Preston has been going down, going down, going down, going down, going really down. But he could win this game against Tanner and hit his fulcrum point and start going up. Or Tanner could just say, "Yeah, keep going down, big man. Keep going down. We don't want you in big juice." So that's very interesting to me. This isn't Preston's team. This is not updated at all. I guess I should update it now. What do you get rid of? Blissey. Oh fuck! You got a Blissey, Toad, and Scizor. Yeah, Thunderous, Mienshao, and Beedrill. All right. Move you up there, big dog. All right. So let's look at this. Preston has a lot of ways to get through Aggron. Most notably, he has Gallade and Heatran. But Preston really doesn't have an answer to the dog. I guess you could say Heatran, but do you get a ground move? Yeah, so realistically, Preston does not have an answer to Arcanine if Tanner were to bring Bulldoze. Like again, if he predicts a Head Smash or a Flare Blitz, he can always go into it. But I can't imagine Heatran. Well, Wild Charge is kind of a pussy move. So yeah, Heatran can probably eat a Wild Charge. How many he can eat, time will tell. But yeah, this game is weird. This game is going to be a pretty, in my mind, this is going to be a very quick game just based on how Preston's team is constructed. Preston dropped like all of his bulk and got like all offense. He dropped Scizor, Blissey, and Toad and got Thunderous, Mienshao, Beedrill. Like his team is hyper offense with some great walls and double Pelipper, more utility but kind of a wall, and Heatran, which he's been bringing pretty offensively. So we'll see. When is the Zydog coming out, man? I want to see some more. How many times? Preston brought it like once, right? Like literally once? Twice. I need to see some more Zydog action, man. That's what I need to see. Come on. But in all seriousness, this is a pretty massive week for both coaches. This game is like the determining point for both their seasons. Does Tanner assert like he's a real contender for playoffs, or does Preston assert that he's still a top playoff team? Again, when we made that video with me, Chris, and Preston, in my mind, I literally said in the video, the only way he don't win this season if he plays himself. In the past 2 weeks, I take my statement back like completely. This game against Noah was one of the worst stomps of this season. And who else did he play in the meantime? I gotta put the schedule again. Schedule week 7, he played Noah, right? Yeah, one of the worst stomps we've seen this season. And then he lost to Biff, which nothing to take away from Biff. Great coach. Played lights out. But Biff was tied in last with Nick and New. Granted, I will give Preston the benefit of the doubt. Iron Bundle did run his pockets. That boy 6-0's his team about 80 times over. So we will finally see. Against Noah, showed me that Preston, while still a good coach and maybe not a top team, losing against Biff, maybe you can just chalk that up to a bad matchup. Unlucky. This game is going to tell us everything about these two coaches. Who is better? Not that they're in like contention for playoffs or anything, but it'll tell the story of who's the real dog here. Is it Preston or is it Tanner? Um, and if you're going off this season alone, I would say Preston. But if you're going historically, I would say Tanner, which is the tough thing. But I think Tanner's been struggling to keep Agron alive in this season. I think he's been using Agron well, but I don't think he's been using it. I think he's been using it good, but I don't think he's been using it great or above average. I think he. It's like Preston and Mega Scissor last season in a way. Overestimates Agron in some aspects and then underestimates it in others. I think if Tanner can keep Agron alive, if he even brings it, could be big. Do you bring Agron in this game? Probably not. Probably not. I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, this can be a fast-paced game regardless, just based off of Preston's team is. So probably, I don't know if he brings Agron. I can fucking tell you. But if we're going off this season, I would have to say Preston. So I fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna pull off the band-aid, bro. Fuck it. I think nothing against either of these coaches. This is going to a game 3 in my mind. In my mind, this is the most 50-50 set of the week, Tanner versus Preston. Again, these sets are all pretty important playoff-wise, but this set in particular, I'm going to be watching the closest. Really determines how these coaches' rest of the season will play out, this set right here, both mentally and ranking-wise, so we will see. Chase versus the Swablues. This is a little bit of a grudge match here. The guy that sniped Altaria from Chase. I think Chase wins. If Chase preps and plays the same way he played against me, I think Chase can beat any coach in the league. I think Chase can top team in the. I think Chase is top team in the league and is a real. I'm looking in the camera. If Chase preps and plays the same way he played against me week 7, he is, without a shadow of a doubt, a top 3 team in the league, hands down. That out of the way. We've seen that from Chase once or twice this season. We've seen it against when he played Tanner the first time, which historically him and Tanner have always had close games, so not really a true test of that. But against me, he had me beat. I got lucky with the crit, 12.5% chance. With that being said, that was a one-stop pop. Pop in the kettle, pop in the pan, whatever it's called, flash in the pot. That was like one spark of greatness, and then last weekend's Tanner just absolutely degraded all the way back to just bringing the same 6 months at the same sets. I was very disappointed in Chase last week. You can make fun of how he played or whatever, but I don't think that set came down to how Chase played it as much as you can say that. That was just a prep diff. Chase, you cannot rely on the same 6 Pokemon with the same 6 sets every fucking week. It's draft league for a reason. If you want to do that, go play the fucking Smogon ladder. But with enough, I guess, slandering Chase. I mean, you can say I'm slandering Chase, but it just frustrates me how he can play so lights out one week and then literally just degrade into degeneracy. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. My thing with Chase is that I know what he's capable of because, again, he had me beat. The only other person that really had me beat this season with Naz, and he was the person that beat me in finals. So Chase, for what he's capable of, he's not giving himself enough. He's not giving himself the tools or the prep. He's not giving himself what he needs to be successful, and that's why I'm a little harsh on him. Because again, we all know what he's capable of. It's just a matter of if he delivers. And against a top team like Josh, I think he's gonna struggle a bit. Um, I mean, just right off rip, you already don't have to worry about one-on-one on his team because he's never bringing his fucking mega. So you don't even got to prep for Sceptile, even though I think it's pretty decent in this game because it deals with the Samurott and Tusk pretty easily. Um, and yeah, I mean, again, Chase. If we see Week 7 Chase, he probably beats Josh, or it makes it a Game 3, super down to the wire. But if we continue to see Chase of just if we continue to see standard Chase, this is a 2-0 for Josh. Yeah, and Chase, please prove me wrong. I want to be wrong about this. I really, again, I don't think your chances for playoffs are even like a thing anymore. You'd really have to rely on like everyone else just doing terrible. Why is my mouse acting up so much? All right, well, we gotta refresh this. Chase, again, like I said, please prove me wrong. Please show me that you are capable of great prep and play every single week. But until you show me that consistency, Josh beating you 2-0. On to the next one. Nick versus Biff. Again, these two coaches, playoff life already kind of out of their sails. But again, Biff is in that, and so is Nick. Nick, first season, having a little bit of a rough one, but did get his first win, and it was against Chase, which kind of adds on to my point that I was just going on a rant about earlier, but that's besides the point. I think Biff has this pretty easily. I think Nick had a great showing against Croc, but when you click Fire Blast in front of an Arcanine for 5 turns in a row, man, just click Earthquake. If he goes Earthworm, you just Fire Blast the next turn. What is Earthworm gonna do to a Garchomp? Heavy Slam for 10? I'm getting a little agitated here, but my point stands in that Nick is very new, doesn't still learning the game. Biff, him and Chase are like very similar boats this season. I think both of Chase and Biff, they have the potential to be like top coaches, but just whether it's lack of prep, maybe not the greatest teams, just very not great showings of them. Biff, a little bit more consistent than Chase, I'll say. Biff, while his team is, well, Chase has more than 2 Pokemon on his team. You know, he's got Cinder. Like, Chase has a more well-rounded team, but Biff knows how to play with Iron Bundle and Glade pretty exceptionally. The rest of his team treads on the come up, but everything else on his team really has been doing that great this season. So even with that being said, I don't know how Nick stops Bundle and Glade from running his pockets. So I'm gonna give this a 2-0 to Biff. I think this is a kind of like Tabs in a way. I think this is a pretty easy game for them. Nick, if he preps well, plays well, you can definitely take a game off him. He took a game off Croc, but we'll have to see. And then for our final game of the week, we got Croc versus JC. Which, the fact that we're saying JC is like a lower end team is just, it feels almost taboo to say. Season 1 champ, Season 2 coach of the season, semifinalist last season. Just really not having it. Really just not having it. He made some trades too that I need to put through on my thing. He dropped Toedscruel and Heracross. Toedscruel, Heracross. And he got Hitmonchan, Hitmontop, And he got Sharpedo. Ooh, okay. I think it's the Hitmontop diff, man. Hitmontop, the only person to be on my team twice, back-to-back seasons as well. Season 1, Season 2, had my Hitmontop. He's the GOAT. He's the difference maker. JC's winning this set. 8-0. 8-0. This is the Hitmontop. No, but in all seriousness, I think JC's been having some rough seasons. Rough games this season, I should say. But I think you can't. Croc is like the new up and coming dog with the big juice, right? He's like rookie season. He's like what Tabs and MNAS were last season. He's really getting his name out there in the league. He's doing good, looking like a top team in the playoffs, all that. But you got JC in the back, just the experienced vet. And while he hasn't been having a season, and while he has been liking his team, I think the Hitmontop Sharpedo is a lot more comfortable than him than the Toadscruel and Heracross. I think these two will really light a fire on him towards this second half of the season. And I think Croc will just be the victim of that. I think he will just be the first victim of the Hitmontop Sharpedo show. Uh, there's nothing against Croc. Fantastic guy, love him. Great guy. Been playing pretty well this season. Top divisional leader for a reason. But when you have a strategy that's so just open book, like Chase with Prankster Tailwind, he's been doing it the past 2 seasons. Had Tornadus for a bit, but other than that, back-to-back seasons with Wind, Prankster Tailwind, you know what Chase is doing. It's the same thing with Croc. He's going to try to shed tail, and he's going to try to set up with Backs and Gyarados, and the question is going to be, can you stop those two from getting Dragon Danced? JC is far too experienced and far too good at the game to just allow that to happen. I know he hasn't been having the greatest season, but JC is better than that to know to not let that happen. And I think because of that experience difference, I'm going to give this. I think this can go to a game 3. Croc, for the purest reason that Croc's been having a really great season and JC has been having a great season, I'm going to say this is going to a game 3. But if I'm talking about like season 1, season 2 JC, and just that JC, if we see that JC with this new team, 2-0. If we see season 3 JC, game 3 down to the wire. But even then, I think the experience and the very open nature of Croc's playstyle will leave him exposed to what JC wants to do with his new team. So yeah, I have JC winning this. I think JC is. I mean, I know he hasn't had the most time to prep this season, but surely he's for the past two months, 8 weeks. So yeah, for the past 2 months, he's seen that Croc's just been cooking Shed Tail on his Earthworm for the win. So I think this set's gonna come down to an experience difference, and I think JC's gonna be walking away with it. So yeah, these are my predictions. Game of the week. I did this last season, so I guess I'll do it here since it's like the first time I'm doing it. Game of the week. In my mind, it's going to be Curse versus Noah. I really don't. I can see Woo and Mnez potentially, but I can see that being a 2-0 set as well. But if I were to give another set, if I were to not say Curse and Noah to be the set of the week, it would be Tanner and Preston, just because they're pretty even. They're pretty even in like I don't know what I'm trying to say, but basically they're even in the going into this set. They both have the same amount of pressure on their back, and that'll make it for everyone else involved. It'll make it an extremely fun set to watch. So this is set of the week for me. But if I were to give it to another set, it'd be Tanner and Preston, just because of how important that set is. And to be fair, this set, maybe not the most important for Curse, but this set for Noah is pretty fairly important. So these are the predictions. Hopefully 45 minutes isn't too I mean, that's pretty fucking long. I spent like 20 minutes on the first fucking 2 teams, but anyway, you get the idea. Excited to see these games. I feel like I say every week these games are crazy, but it's not. It's the coaches. It's not the teams that make it. It's the coaches that make it crazy. So that's gonna be the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully my predictions are right. Maybe they're wrong. The only one that matters is this one. I'm knocking Beast. I'm rocking his shit. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here, and I'll see y'all. See y'all later.